one is, of course, like talk to each other. That's like step one, but it's like, what does the entity really need right now? What are the objectives of transition? What behaviors do you want to see during this transition? And what environment do you want to see during transition itself? So transition is more than just like, like here's like the typical PPT slides that I got last year during my transition. Let me just change the theme and then I'll just deliver it the same. But rather like, what is it that's really unique about the context of this generation, like 2022? And how does your context of your entity and how does like the principles therefore reflect all of those things as well? So if I was to ask you these things right now, like how many of you would know what would be the answer of your successor and the answers of your predecessor? So we would have split into like another breakout room. Like how aligned do you think your answers would be for this part? Like, is it like quite similar, or it's like, yeah, we've already aligned, so we're good to go? Or is it like, yeah, we're having the conversation soon after TLC? Or what does it currently look like? So you don't have to share if you don't want to in the chat, but rather these are just things I want you to already have in your mind. But like what I really find the best things about principles, not just for transition, but for anything, is like these 4 simple tips. It should be actionable, it should be measurable, it should be easy to understand, and it should also be easy to remember. So if it's something that you want to refer back to a PPT or to a spreadsheet for, then it's probably going to be something that's going to get a little bit lost. But whether it's something that is like very memorizable and very like catchy, then chances are like you as the co-MCPs will remember it, and therefore your MC teams will also remember it a lot faster as well. So for example, like this is what I had as like our principles, which were really our behaviors from last year as well, is that we kept them very simply like based off the ISEC values, because it's not something that you can disagree with. So like we didn't want more things for people to learn, but rather than this is just what it is. And also because for me, like being an ISEC means you live the values in everything that you do. And of course, transition is just one of those touch points, which it should be like even more important as well. And then the third one, it was easy to hold people accountable towards something new, because it wasn't like, okay, guys, this is like a new set of behaviors you have to live for the next 3 months, but rather like, hey, like you're already an ISEC, these are already the values. Now this is how it's going to be translated into transition itself. I think in hindsight, the only thing I would do is maybe just reduce them. And maybe talk to NJ a bit more, but I knew he would agree. But it's just up to your conversations and how you guys work as like currents and with the Lex. So my questions for you right now, so I'm gonna play some music, but essentially I just want you to think like individually, before I give you a chance to be with your predecessor, your successor, like what do you wanna see during transition? So I want you to think about like everything, the whole process. What do you wanna see during transition? And the second one, like just as important, if not more important, is like what behaviors do you wanna see during the next MC team? So the elects, the 21-22 generation, and also for the entity as well. Cool. So I just want you to individually think. I'll just play like half a song. So I'll get Juve to play the song. And then I just want you to like just write it in your notebooks or just type on your laptop, wherever you're taking notes for the conference. Cool. So I'll just give you like 1 more minute. Okay, so if you've already got some answers, I'd like to see it in like the chat. So like, what were some of the things that you were writing down? Like, what do you want to see during transition, and what behaviors do you really want to see during the next MC team? Okay, cool. So NJ wrote like adaptable. That's nice. I think it's very relevant to the current context that we're actually in. Cool. Michael, beautiful, learning by doing. Yes, for sure. I think definitely something that's really important for any ISICA, but especially now with a lot of uncertainty. Can I hear from one more current and one from one more elect? Like, what are the things you really want to see during transition, and what behaviors? Okay, cool. So for Phoebe, curiosity and vulnerability, co-creation and shadowing. I like it a lot. And for Ali, it's like curious, practicing empathy and collaboration, and 1% better every single day. Okay, beautiful, nice. So we can work with that, and we'll move it forward to like the next part of the session itself. Okay, so why we have principles and why they're like so important is because principles influence the way you design the experience. So when you're going through a transition, it's not just like a checklist or something that you need to do before you end your term or before you start your term, but it's like, you can imagine as like, it's essentially like a whole like customer experience flow and journey for your MC team members, for your MC team elect as a whole, but also for you guys as a super MC team, so as the current and the elects. So whatever your principles are, whatever things that are grounding you in terms of the way that you make decisions can also impact itself, like the experience that you give to everyone here and there. And they also influence the different opportunities or the different spaces that you have for learning and how you want to deliver learning. Because for sure we know that during transition is how you like, give new knowledge to like the new team as well. But also like how people learn doesn't have to be black and white. And depending on your principles and depending on the things that you really value, it will shape like the type of spaces that you create for the elect team, but also for like the whole super MC team as well. And then the last one, I think, is that it really influences the attitude and the standard that you have in terms of the delivery of transition. So depending on the principles and depending on the way that you guys talk about it as an MCP, it will trickle down to your MC members and also towards like the network as well. So these influence things in terms of how much focus is really given to it, how much attention is given to it, and like what is the importance of it as well. So for example, if you're to map out like the day-to-day, week-to-week in your MC term, what does it like, how many hours would you actually spend talking about these things as well? About transition, and like how important really is it in like the list of priorities that your MCVPs have to do before their term starts. All of this comes down to the principles that you set for transition and how well people took them on board. And another thing is that, yes, like even though transition is not just a checklist, but for sure you'll have like some sort of framework or a guide to give you in terms of all the things in terms of like functional knowledge that you should really keep in mind. Like as you saw already, the MCP transition framework is something very similar to that, just adapted, of course, to the current context. But also your principles influence the way that you actually deliver the framework as well, because it's not just about ticking it off on a checklist, but also it's about like what is the attitude you go about with it, like how serious are you really taking it, how you designing the environment, the spaces, how are you utilizing this as a learning opportunity. All of these things are also important as well. So my guiding questions for you now, so this is when I will split you into your breakout rooms where you'll be with your successor, with your predecessor. If you don't have that yet, you just stay in the main room with me. So my questions for you for the current to be able to share with the elect is what went well, and like what did you really like about transition that you've received in like the past, like in the past term. And then the second question is like what would you already like to improve from last year itself. And if like you as like an elect, you like on your current MC member in the team, then maybe you can also share from like your perspective as well when you're transitioning as an MC elect. And then also like what were the things that you like to improve. Cool. So I'll just give you 5 minutes for this and we'll open the breakout rooms. Can people select their own rooms or we're assigning?
So basically all the countries are assigned. So the MCP elects or the MCP currents can directly go to the name of the country and choose their room. That's it. And if you don't have an MCP link, just stay in the main session. That's it.
If anyone needs help assigning, just let me know, and we can like we can assign you there ourselves. Tony, you can like screen share. I mean, you can take a screenshot of the questions and you can post in the Telegram group if you want.
Okay.
Let me just, yeah, let me just screen share it.
Give me 1 second.
Hi, can you send me to Nepal? Like I was in Bangladesh.
Yeah, Drew will send you there. Good, Tony. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we assign, did someone assign her to Nepal?
Yeah, she's assigned.
Okay, cool. So there's only Beck here that doesn't have a successor, and everyone else did.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Because like Hong Kong, India, and Japan, like they're there by themselves. So like, what are they talking about?
They have successors, predecessors, but they just didn't join or attend.
Oh, so they're just like reflecting by themselves. Okay. I'll just send a message. Can you help me to put in your delegation group, like for the MCPs, that if they're by themselves, they can come back to the main room if they want to like talk to other people, like, or they can stay there and answer the questions themselves. It's up to them.
Boom. Okay, I send it.
Japan just jumped with Sri Lanka.
Yeah, their time is weird. So he's like half current, half elect.
So cute.
Yeah, true.
But
But
oh no, he left.
I think more engagement. Ah, left. Okay.
He jumps somewhere else. No, he jumped back to Japan. But where are the people that aren't here? Like, it's.
Let me check. Beck is here from Mongolia. And Sisita is not here because he has some meeting. But rest of people I think they are here. Let me check. Yeah, most of them they have the success already. For the people they don't have successor, they even didn't come to this space.
Okay. I'll close the, Drew, can you close the breakout rooms?
Yeah, I am closing the breakout.
안녕.
Hello. Okay, so who has not shared yet and would like to share anything that you or your successor predecessor talked about in the breakout rooms? You can just put your name in the chat and then you can speak. Cool. Phoebe?
Yeah, I think I can share. So what went well last year that I want to continue is having the routine with my successor, because it's a time that we all commit to. Like we both know that we are committing to, and like we know that doing transition is not something that is just done within a week, but it needs a consistent commitment to it in order for us to do an effective transition. And the second part is as much as possible having the physical touch point and building that emotional connection, because the trust between the successor and predecessor, it goes beyond just the transition period, but rather like when the successor starts his or her term, one of the strongest support system will come from the predecessor. Yeah. And then like one thing that two things I would like to improve from the past year is more shadowing and challenges to build up my capacity. Because previously it's a lot been mainly about like information transition, etc. But not so much of like, oh, I have a gap in this area, gap in my skills and all, and how I that itself. And the second would be more guidance on the legality side, so there is like a better bridge between one term to another.
Thank you, Phoebe. Can you tag someone that hasn't shared yet to please share?
Masaki.
Okay, I think it's an interesting situation for Japan, but sure.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, now is I'm now in transition time. Yeah, so maybe my transition end is March. So what could continue? What would you like to improve? Yeah, last year I'm not good at transition. My successor, my predecessor. So because not much the communication routine and transition not using transition framework. So so not good at not a good transition. So because I ran last year, so now my time transition will improve lots of communication with successor and communication routine. Yeah, is I'm learned last year. So sorry, cheap English. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing anyways. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next part now, which is like the timeline itself in terms of what you have in plan. So as I'm going through each of the months, each of the slides look like this, like March, April, May, June to etc. July. So I want you to just like quickly note down like what are the things that you know are already happening in your entities as we go through each of them. Okay, so we're in March right now. I can't believe it, but TLC is currently happening. Like globally working on the MC transition framework. The MCP transition framework is already being implemented. And then you have things that are also like happening with new entities as well. So just like quickly refresh what those things are. Maybe you can have your calendar open so you can view those things. In April, what are the things that are really happening together? Like globally, it'll be many things to support with transition of the elects, but also happening there for any of the elects who are applying, which you should. And then what is happening in your entities, of course, like these things and maybe many more things as well, depending on your entity too. And then we jump into May, and already we'll have like another touch point together where it's RPMs for you guys as the Ps, but also for like the elected VPs, which will be in your MC teams. It's also like regional functional summits time. And that's when you're gonna be starting to do with pre-planning preparation, etc. will be the focus like globally. But then of course, you also know maybe you have some touch points that are also happening within your conference during this period as well. And then for June itself, like if you've already transitioned or done the change management to the new MC timeline, then it's pretty much going to be the last month of you guys. And if you guys have not, then it's going to be the second last month. But essentially what's happening globally is that we're already going to be looking at like replanning, and it'll be mainly the elect doing a lot of the work because shadowing should have already finished. And then in your entities, like what are the things that you're doing? Like what are things happening with your network, with your LCPs, with conferences, etc. as well. Cool. And then for July, it's either officially the first month of your term, if you're following like the new timeline, or if you haven't yet, then it's like the last month really of your term. And also mainly at this point, it's mainly the elects doing everything now anyways, because the shadowing period would have already been over. So as you can see, there's actually like not a lot of time left until like 21-22 term officially begins itself. So again, I want you to like join your breakout rooms, and I just want you to like quickly like open a calendar or wherever you already have it and just refine some things. Like what does your entity's timeline for the next few months actually look like? And what are your MC focuses and anything in your plan that you would need to adjust? And the main thing I want you to look at here is that what is the time allocation that you already have given to transition? Like MCP transition, of course, but mainly like MC to MC transition as well. Yeah. So I invite you just to go to the breakout rooms, like Drew, if you could open them again, and then people can just join your respective groups. If you're by yourself, like you don't have to join and go into a breakout room by yourself. You can like stay here, and we can also have a conversation as well, but I'll leave that up to you. Thank you. So I'll just give you like 4 minutes for this part. Sorry, like 5 minutes for this part. Oh yeah, can you screen share? I mean, can you take a screenshot? Thank you. Okay, so I'm timing it. I'll let you know. I'm just grabbing my water.
Luis, can you click the slides with May, March, May, June priorities, and then because MCs want to check.
Okay, there's not much here though. Just let me know when to change it.
Don't worry. Okay, next. April, done. May, done. Yeah, we are 80 people, so we need like lots of information. How are you doing? Everything?
Great.
The first CC experience.
Yeah.
Nice. Don't feel scared. Like manage breakout sometimes will be really hard, but yeah.
He's doing fine.
And everything breakout. Exactly. Yeah, we
Okay.
already did a.
So Tony, I had this question. So at some side you wanted to present the music, so that was my job. But the options are saying that only if I present my screen or share my music, her presentation will stop. So can we have something solution to that?
Yeah, I'm figuring it out because I also tried to play the music, but I cannot.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Let me see if I can share the music. Because I think I'm not the host or like the can Luis or Dora can help me to
So
open to
if
share
I am
the.
co-host, but if I share the music, her presentation will stop. So that should not happen. That's why.
Can you share like the? Oh yeah, I'm the co-host. Let me check. I know the reason. Yes, it's the same with me. Eesh. Last time it works. Like when we have the planning, I think it works. I'll figure it out.
Okay, you can close the breakout rooms.
Luis, I try my best, but I think like it's not to play the music. So I see how can
Don't
I do
worry.
everything.
It's okay. I don't need it anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone, welcome back. Okay, cool. So I would like to hear again from someone that hasn't shared, if you'd like to share like what you talked about. Just so like, the reason why we have sharing is also for you to like debrief, if you like debriefing out loud, but mainly the second reason is so that we're able to learn from one another as well. And also because it's an interactive space, otherwise we can just send you the PPTs and you can just read them yourselves. So yeah, and I know from the feedback form, like some of you guys are saying like, yes, I want to have more interactions and I want to have more sharings. So that's also one of the reasons why. So if you don't like it, then put in the feedback form that you don't like sharing spaces. So who would like to share? Okay, yep. Indonesia, NCP elect, nice to meet you.
Okay. So my other timeline will be like quite packed. I'm gonna start to have the selection on the next week actually. So in the second week of March, and then on April, on May, we hope that we can finish the selection, and on June we will have a general transition and also the planning. So in July we can actually finish and finalize all the planning. And between March and May, in the selection process, we also hopefully can have the transition to MCP to MCP in the times. And also for the MC focuses, in this term we have three. The first one is sustainability in terms of financial, especially in cash reserves. So how can we actually improve that, and how can we bridge that to the next term? The second one is our membership. How can we create the right thing for our members? And the last one is our portfolio that is new. So we need to kind of like build that portfolio so then we can bring that to the next term as well. Yep. And for the thing that we need to adjust, we will see in this time what thing we need to adjust. So yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very thorough. I loved it. Cool. Yeah, you can go next if you want. Myanmar.
Oh, okay. So actually, I'm a CP candidate. I'm still not elected, but yeah, I will tell about our entity timeline as well. Maybe yeah, MC selection and MC transition. I am expected to and like to finish in May, and then in July there will be like team to team, and then team to team transition and also planning. Like as most of you guys know, in Myanmar, there's a external like political crisis right now. So the MC focus will be like to make sure that everyone like MCP full structure is onboarded, and then how we can build up the like brand image in this kind of situation, and then how we can drive this entity in a safe way, not hemming and then not really like fighting in the political way, and also how we can also engage the membership, because since right now most of the people are really engaged in that political situation, so people cannot really focus on the operation and the other initiatives that we are currently doing. So yeah, the main focus will be how we can make sure to onboard the member again to like engage back to Isaac, and yeah, how we can build a brand for this in this kind of situation.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing. So the main part of why we had this in like the workshop in the space itself is for you to be able to see like what are the focuses that you have, because how can your transition actually like include each of those focuses as well, to not like double work, but how can you integrate the work that you need to be doing in the way that you already deliver transition to your successor, right? So they already understand the focuses you have right now as an entity, and they also understand like why it's important, and they already start like learning and gaining skills as well. And also for you to really keep in mind just how packed the timeline is, because like you won't be able to get more time, but trust me, you'll always hear these things from like your MCVPs and being like, oh my God, there's so much things to do. And I also got to do transition. I got to prep for transition, etc. So being aware of the timeline in advance and planning it out well, and having, you know, a reason why you have certain things in certain places can actually make it easier for not just you two, but also for your teams as well. So before we go to our final breakout space where we'd like to conclude the session itself, I just wanted to share like 3 tips and tricks that I really like that worked for me, and maybe some of it could work for some of you guys as well, or it can get you thinking in terms of like what are the things that could really work for you based on like the answer to the very first question, which was like, how was your transition for you personally for the currents last year, and what were the things that you like to improve? So I think the first one is like with anything in ISEC is really starting with like the why, and like a lot of different whys in this case is like why transition is important. So answer this question for yourself first, like look in the mirror and be like, okay, why is transition important? Because if you yourself don't find it an important component, then it's going to be harder for you to actually like translate that to like your elected team or to your current team. The second one is of course like why ISEC is important, because that's why you're doing what you're doing right now. The third one is like why ISEC exists in, like, in your country, in your territory as well, because that's like our role right now in the leadership team is really to like to serve and to be able to like make an impact in that way. And then the 4th, 5th, and 6th point is really about like the principles that you had with designing transition and the principles that you will create. So why is transition being designed in this certain way? That's a typo. The next one is like, why do you have these certain spaces? What is the role that you want to play, and why what we do now really like matters? So like gaining really clarity in the way that you're designing the transition experience for the MC Elect members, the MC Elect team, and also like the current and the Elect Super MC team. All of this stuff is really important, because that's why it will still remain as one of your top 3 priorities, even when things are busy and even with all the crazy schedules that you have for the coming few months. And I think like one of the things that was very easy for me to relate to like my MC team was honestly just like the stand that we had as an MC team, and also just like the rules. Like the first one, like without doubt, was that ISEC in Australia comes first. So then it wasn't even like, it was just already like the why, like black and white, like this is what we really stand for. This is what we've been doing all year, really working towards like the next generation of ISEC in Australia, and transition is really the way to do that. So whatever your MC stand is, or whatever are like your personal whys on why you like decide to apply for MCP for the currents, making sure that that is also translated into also why you value transition, and why it's also very important, because it's not just your success, but like also the successes of your successes of your successes. I always get that term. So then the next one is like choosing your battle, I would say is like the second like tip that I would give you, because it will not be perfect. So even now, if you can tell me like, yes, in March we'll do this, in April we'll do this, in May this will be the ROI, in June this will be the goals, it may not work out according to plan. So there'll be a lot of things that you want to see and make happen, because we're ISECers and we're ambitious, and we want to do a lot of things with the time that we have left, but we're also like human beings. So you're human with limited resources in terms of time, energy, and people. So the question for you is to really ask yourself, like, what will be that 20/80 that you will not compromise on? So of course, like have your whole experience flow designed, have all your trackers, your spreadsheets, your Google Calendar invite sent, the plan, etc. Have everything. But what is that 2080 that you as an MCP current or you as an MCP elect agree on is like a non-negotiable. Like I don't care whatever else happens, like this is something that needs to happen and this is something that needs to happen well. And for this, it can be a lot of things. It can be one of your legacy projects. It can be a behavior. It can be like a working, like the working routines that you have within one another. Like it's whatever you feel like is really that 2080 that is really important for a successful transition and also for the next MC team to be able to start well. So we're going to have breakout rooms later, but I really want you to think of this because this will be what will not save you, but this will be what helps you really prioritize when things get busy in like the coming months as well. Like really understanding that wherever you're putting your resources in terms of your time and energy and also your people is really making that biggest difference. So for me last year, like what it really was for me was like our May's president's meeting, which happened with like our LCPs and with it was run by the MC current and the MC elect team. And for me, this was like my 2080. Because it served like a strategic focus for the organization where we were pivoting the direction of the entity and like the things that we were running and couldn't run because of COVID and whatnot, but also because I thought one of the best ways that you actually learn in ISEC is actually by doing things. So I thought this was like a great opportunity for like the elected MC team to actually like interact with the network, actually learn some skills as well, and also see what it's like being on the MC end to be able to like deliver a summit/conference, like also virtually too. So this is like, for me, was like my 2080. Like it was the thing I put in the most of my attention, most of my energy, most of my space. It was the thing that I held my MCVPs to like the highest standard for, because for me, this was like everything. And so like, what would that be for you guys? So what makes the most sense based on the principles you have for transition and where your entity is at and the direction that you want to take them as well? What is your 2080 that is a non-negotiable during this transition period? Cool. And the last one that I really wanted to share is role modeling. So how is your MCP transition going? How is it being perceived by your MC team? And what behaviors are you proud of? And what behaviors are you not proud of? And what do you need to be more conscious or deliberate of? So in this sense, I mean, like, you guys as the MCPs are the ones that are like role modeling to your MC teams what a good transition actually looks like, what like, like a passing of a baton or the relay race of the next team starting really looks like as well. And trust me, even if you don't know it, like how you act around each other or how seriously you take things or the conversations you have or your attitude will actually determine how your MC members also take things as well. So for example, if you're an MCP current and you're just complaining like, oh my God, I need to prepare so many things for transition, there's so much work I need to do, blah, 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 blah. That's also going to be the same mentality that your MCVP members also have as well. But if you're an MCP current or you're an MCP elect and you're always like, oh my God, I just had transition, it was amazing, I learned this, you have debrief spaces with your MC teams, you have like co-sharing spaces, like all these sort of things, that is also going to be like extremely helpful as well in terms of what it means to really like role model like a good transition itself. And how can that actually start? From this conference itself, from the Leadership Congress, from pre-meetings itself. So what are the different ways that you're already like showing to your network how you guys are like one MCP? So like this was like, obviously this was like physically together, but it's not about this because you guys are like virtual as well and you can take like screenshots and everything. But like for me, it's like the only thing I have on my Instagram page is like photos of the network when I was doing transition or when the network was together, or it was like alcohol. But like those are the two things that I would post on social media. And like this was something that I really prioritized because I wanted the network to really be able to see that like, like it's really like one MCP, like essentially, that's like working together to be able to like make things happen itself. So like how you also like role modeling right now with MCPs to your network, like what this legacy quarter really looks like and what are all the cool things that you're doing for ISEC itself. Cool. So now we're going to go into our final current and elect like working time for like the next 5 minutes. And then we're going to come back here and debrief and wrap up the space. So Drew, I'll just get you to open up the breakout rooms again. So what you can do is, oh my God, I read your mind, Phoebe. So if you go to this link, ice.ec/MCP MC transition, you'll be able to see all the slides. Anyways, it comes on the output at the end of the day, but I want you to just quickly have a quick debrief with your predecessor, your successor for the next like 5 minutes. What are the principles, the timeline, the way you communicate, the battles, role modeling, essentially like what is it that really stood out for you in the past like 15 minutes that you think is really going to be that 2080 that you need to put in an action plan for you to have a really good transition experience for the 21-22 team as well. Cool. So open up the breakout rooms and I will bring you back here in about 5 minutes.
Luis, I sent a photo there and with a link.
Oh, you're so smart.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're going to end right on time.
Amazing. You are always amazing.
Loves. Yeah. I'll get them to share in the delegation share. Huh?
Because our next session is not that heavy, so I think it's fine. So like, yeah, it can be a little bit later. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, agenda manager, whatever you say, you're the boss. I'm gonna get myself more tea.
Hi, Gemma.
What is the next session?
Let me see. I will deliver the team management for MCP.
Oh, yeah.
And Israel will deliver like the MCP networking selection.
Team selection. I love being MCP. I miss being MCP. Drew, apply for MCP. It's a good role.
Yeah,
I promise you.
Like the best job in Isaac in the world.
Sure.
It's so good. I was going through all the photos. I was going through all the photos for the session and I was like, oh, I miss being MCP. I miss having a super MC team. I miss being part of an entity. It was so emotional. I was having a little emotional moment.
Don't worry. You're the first. You can do what you want.
Yeah, such a good role. It's okay. The currents are realizing it now because their term is almost over. And then by the time the elects realize it after the stress, they're like, oh shit. Oh.
I'm going to start my trip.
Okay. You know what? I feel like eating cake.
Do it.
Nah, I don't have cake.
Cake. Sad story. I will send a virtual cake to you.
Oh, thank you. Is the Suri just going to be sleeping? Thank you. Is the Suri just going to be like working, like sleeping weird and waking up really, really early for TLC?
Yeah.
Bless.
I think God bless him. It must be really torture. I cannot believe it. Like,
I just realized that this conversation is all being recorded. Lol, but it's okay. We didn't say anything bad. I was just saying how good MCP is and how I want to eat cake.
Yeah. No, in the breakout time, you are Luis and I'm Tony, and we're back. We have 30 and agenda managers.
Exactly. Dude, I can't believe how fast this day went by. It's already 5 p.m. Crap.
Yeah.
And the prime time goes by really fast.
True. You have the session today.
No, I don't. I only had one session in prime time. And that was yesterday. I have the welcoming, but it's like 15 minutes and it's not like a session, so that's all. Otherwise, I am Chili's. Not Chili's. I'm back end Chili's. I'm CC Chili's. Okay, I'm gonna close Drew, just close the breakout rooms in like 1 minute. Yeah, so just in 1 minute you can close them.
Okay.
Because I want to hear one sharing. Oh my God, Michael, you look so young. That's going to change.
Nice.
I'm surprised your MC term didn't age you enough.
No, man. I live at home, so I can sleep, I can hit the gym, I don't need to cook. Very like cushy term, if I'm being honest. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'm surviving TLC because I don't need to cook.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's not a feedback session, guys. That's like having a debrief space like afterwards. Do some performance management. Okay, cool. So I hope that started the conversation for you guys. And of course, it wasn't enough time for you to like finish it. But I definitely encourage for you guys to really like book in time. I don't know how you guys are doing debrief during the conference, whether you're meeting at the end of each day, after prime time, or in the morning before your regional time starts. But definitely find a time where you can like connect and just have some conversations as like one P to another P, because that's really important. So just to close up the space here as well, like, does anyone have any like final like sharings or anything that they want to like speak in front of like everyone? Because we have time for like one, and then I will just close the space. So yeah, if anyone would like to share anything that's on their mind or anything that came up in their conversations, you can just put your name in the chat. If not, I will just move on to the closing. Okay, closing in 5, 4, 3. Oh, beautiful. Hello, Philippines. Okay, sorry, I just have time for one.
Okay, so I think one thing that I realized is that intergenerational accountability is really important. Being, like really seeing the hard work that was the MC team, like currently trying to fix also a lot of things. It's really important that we're on the same mindset in terms of how we want the next few terms, and definitely like really collaborating on how things will work, and things will work for next term is like the work that we need to do this term, like for the next 3 months, and like for the legacy quarter, in order for them to have a much better execution of the plans that they have. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you for sharing. Sorry, I only have time for one sharing, but feel free to use your Telegram chat, and you guys can keep sharing with each other during this like conference experience as well. And as you go through transition, I think that's the best thing about having this MCP support network, is that as you go through designing and actually delivering the transition experience to your teams, you can always share the things that are going well and the things that are not going that well, or the things that they need advice or tips about as well, so that people can actually, so you can learn from each other as well. Cool. So in wrapping up the session, I want you to close your eyes. Wait, let me just stop screen sharing. So I want you guys to close your eyes. I love it when I tell people to close their eyes and they don't close their eyes. And I'm like, dude, like I can see your eyes aren't closed. Okay, cool. So I want you guys to close your eyes. And the date is 1st of September, 2021. You're catching up with your successor or your predecessor for the first time since the current term officially began. And you had your handover with the network. This is the first time you've actually caught up with each other since the last transition that you've had together. You're both talking about the current state of the entity, how well the MC is doing within the network, how they did such a better job than when you as the current had started your term last year, talking about the things that the relationship with the network has never been stronger. Everyone is moving in one direction, and you couldn't be more proud of where the entity is today. You're seeing all those conversations and all those plans that you had talked about in transition actually coming into reality, and you actually began to see results within the network itself. It's September, so it's LCP election season, and you're really happy, like your successor is super, super happy, because there's so many people that have decided to like step up. And it's not just because like they're stepping up because they have to, but rather they're stepping up because they really believe in ISEC and what it can do for their entity, for their LC, for their city, for their country. And that just makes you really happy, because it wasn't this case like almost a year ago, maybe. You've just seen your best quarter in terms of revenue that are coming in from new initiatives and from BD as well. And a lot of them were actually things that were started in the legacy quarter or in the last MC term itself. So I think it's like one of the special moments that you can actually like laugh and enjoy about how far you guys have come together since TLC in March, when you were actually having this like visualization exercise of what things would actually be like. You're grateful for the extra time that you invested in transition during the final months of current MC term, the hard conversations that you had, the tough decisions that you had to make, because at the end, it was all worth it. There's still a long way to go for your entity, but for sure, you're both very happy with where you guys are right now. So I'll get you to open your eyes. So hopefully that like ended and shifted from what we opened the session with. So you guys can see like, actually there's a lot of amazing things that can really happen within your entities. And it really does start from you guys making a conscious choice to wanting to make that a reality for your entities. So my final message for like the current MC team or the current MCP is that really people remember how you started and how you ended. So make sure that you end just as proudly as when you first like put your hand up to say that, yes, I want to be MCP and I want to have it a year about serving the entity itself. So really think for yourself how you really want to end your last few months of MCP. And trust me, you're going to miss it because it's really like one of the best roles that you can really have within the organization. Trust me. So I really hope you make the most of it and you're actually able to like end the term with no regrets. And then my last advice or like tip really is like being a super MC team. So that's really the current and the elect working together is honestly for me the best way for you to serve your entity and to serve your people. Like having two groups of people really working together on making things happen. Like when that actually comes together, like you'll be surprised at the things that you're able to achieve and the things you're able to accomplish, and just how even the scariest things seem less scary because you have the right people like next to you to be able to make those things happen. So my last message is really that however your transition experience will go as a current or as an elect, just remember that it's really not about you, but it's about your entity. And being an ISECer means making those decisions and making those choices to making sure that, you know, it's not just your term that goes really well or even your successor's term, but it's the generations that come after, long after both of you have actually finished your term. They actually inherit an ISEC that is actually like, you know, an ISEC that you would be proud of. Cool. So in saying that, thank you for the space itself. I hope you got something out of it. If not, I hope at least it sparked some conversations. And good luck for the rest of pre-meeting and for the rest of TLC. Bye.
Thank you, Luis. Yeah, so feel free to give the hearts and give the claps, give Luis about the session. And right now we have, it's 5:01 p.m. So I'll give you 9 minutes for break till 5:10. And then for elects, please check your who below about the meeting link. And current, please stay here because we'll have another session with me like in 8 minutes. So just don't leave this meeting room because we will also assign a breakout later. So say goodbye to your elect and current can stay here, have some fun. I'll play some music.
Say it's alright. Say it's alright. It's alright. Have a good time. 'Cause it's alright. Oh, it's alright. Now listen to the beat. Kinda at your feet. You got soul in every 心只有我说出了，血淌泪泪，没热但有点醉，运气里都背，好是哪里不对，身材里都飞。Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, have a nice day. 我要 Wednesday 大叫 ，Thursday 尖叫 ，Friday, Saturday 胡搞瞎搞。Sunday, Monday, Tuesday， 谁知道明天好还是不好？不管 Wednesday 干杯 ，Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every day。Have a nice day. La 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 la. Have a nice day. La 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 la. Have a nice day. La 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 la. Have a nice day. La 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 la. 我要狠狠比你Sunset fades away, streetlights start to blaze. A
Okay, I think people, hold on, I check if everyone's here. Okay, yeah, I think most of people they are back. But I think BJ, you need to get to another room, not here. So BJ, please go to relax session. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, the rest of people are current here. Amazing. So hello, Karen. So later on we'll have the session for the team management. So let me share my screen here. Okay, yeah, so make sure everyone is back. So if someone haven't got back, so please be aware of we are going to start our session. And then welcome to this space about team management for second semester. And my name is Tony. Yeah, as you know, like I'm your API MED 2021. And yeah, this is my Instagram. So yeah, if you want to follow me, just follow me. Okay, yeah. So the following session, the subject objective for this part is I understand my team management context and have a clear idea about timeline and how to improve during the second semester. So I think it already has been for 6 months, right? So feel free to tag in your chat room about how it's feeling about like being the MCP for 6 months. Are you tired? Are you excited? Are you exhausted? Are you still living in a good stage? Are you like just want to drop out in somewhere? But feel free to text in the chat room. Let me know like what is your how is your feeling about being in MCP for 6 months already.